This week's Performance Anxiety features singer, songwriter, and doctor Karen Haglof. You may know her from Band of Susans. She's got a solo career going, and she had a brief 20-year stint in between as an oncologist. We talked to her about how she got started in music, what she's up to now, and how she made the switch from music to medicine. Please enjoy this week's Performance Anxiety with Dr. Karen Haglof.
Hi, this is Karen Haglof. I'm a solo artist and formerly from the Band of Susans, and you are listening to Performance Anxiety.
You nailed it. That was awesome.
Well, you know what? I dictate all day. At my office, I have dictation software, when I'm dictating doctor's notes. So it's kind of like I do a lot of speaking. So sometimes that's helpful.
All right. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, too. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Do I call you Karen or Doctor?
Karen.
All right.
Dr. Karen. No, just fine. Yeah.
Okay. I've had a little bit of a sore throat, so I got to...
I've got...
All right.
My tea here.
I've got my bourbon.
Well, yeah, it's a school night, so to speak.
There's medicinal qualities to bourbon, I hear. So, of course, I could be wrong. I'm not the doctor, so I don't know.
No, it's soothing on the...
All right, good. All right, we're already headed off on the right direction. So I like that. Your story is actually incredibly fascinating to me. I was a huge, and I mean, I'm not going to use the past tense because I still am. I'm a huge fan of Band of Susans. How did you get into music to start with?
Well, we're going way back now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in the Wayback Machine back in Burnsville, Minnesota, when I was growing up, and we lived in this cul-de-sac of 8 houses, and about a quarter mile down the dirt road was this Tom Thumb Superette in a tiny little strip mall kind of a thing. I mean, tiny.
Okay.
Probably 4 or 5 stores, and there was the Tom Thumb Superette, and then there was Suburban Music there, and then there was, which was a music store, and then there was a little record store, as far as I remember, that sold 45s and things, and a beauty salon, and then there was a gas station. And
my wife just walked past.
Hello. And we used to ride horses down there, and this was, kind of when was this, late 60s or so, when I was 12 or 13, and all the cool guys went in and out of that music store. It was I got to have a reason to go to that music store, so I'm going to take guitar lessons.
Good thinking.
So that's where it started. My best friend and I took guitar lessons at this music store, and then we started learning songs off the radio and playing songs together, in church on Sundays, and little youth groups and things like that. And then it kind of went on from there to playing in bands around Minneapolis and quitting University of Minnesota to go play music when I was,
Golden Gophers?
Well, yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do back then. So what am I in college for? I'm not sure what I'm doing here. So.
I know the feeling.
So it's why don't I just go play in a rock band for a while? Okay,
and now I saw on your Facebook page, I guess a promo shot for a band that was way back. Was that?
That was Spitfire.
Yes. The PH, yeah.
Spitfire. And that was back probably about 74, 75 area.
Was that your first official band?
That was my first real band, yeah. It's 4 women and 1 guy, and toured all the 5-state area around Minneapolis, North and South Dakota, and Iowa and Wisconsin, and up to, the bottom of Canada, Fort Francis, Canada, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And actually, kind of at that time, we made enough money to kind of to exist without having other work, really. So that was wow, this is being a real rocker back then. We were a cover band. We played Led Zeppelin, and we did Iggy and the Stooges, and we did MC5, and we did Rolling Stones and Tina Turner. We had a great singer, Jan, who still plays out of Chicago. I think she's living Chicago now.
Okay.
Yeah, we did all these cover songs and we played there, and we were kind of a novelty back then as being a mainly female band. There wasn't a whole lot of other women doing that at that time.
Right. How did you progress from there? Where did you go from Spitfires?
Well, from there, we were centered in Minneapolis, and that was when the Suicide Commandos in Minneapolis were starting to, kind of starting to play out, and there was started to develop a real kind of not a cover band scene, but like an original rock band kind of vibe there. And there were several bands that played in the clubs in Minneapolis, and from then, we'd go in, when we came off the road off our little cover band, we'd go to see all the bands that were playing original music at like the Longhorn Bar and places like that in Minneapolis, and then met all of those folks. And I ended up in a band with Steve Almas, who's the bass player for the Suicide Commandos.
Okay.
And we had a band called the Crackers, and decided we were going to move to New York City. And here I am still.
So once you got into New York, how long did the Crackers stay together, and what happened?
We weren't together that long. I mean, we had some personnel changes, and it's just a lot harder to live in New York than it is to live in Minneapolis. And so the realities of being here, it just kind of it didn't kind of split apart probably within a year, maybe a year and a half or so.
Oh wow!
That's when I ended up. I met some people that were playing in the more avant-garde scene, and I met Rhys Chatham, and through Rhys is where I met the Band of Susan's folks, and ended up, ultimately playing with them. That
I'm definitely interested in how you met Rhys, because his work, especially at that period, is intense. It's
it's great. I love it.
I do too, and I actually discovered him through Band of Susan's, and I've been a huge fan ever since. How did you meet up with him and start playing with him?
Well, I had a friend, Tim Carr, who was an A&R person. He was from Minneapolis. I met Tim Carr, introduced me to an artist, Robert Longo, who's a very well-known artist that was getting started back then. Okay. And he had a musical project, and I was a guitar player for that. And then through him, and Tim also introduced me, said Rhys Chatham is looking for guitar players. And so the first time Rhys came over to my apartment, and he was going to, show me some of his work. And we were going to tune guitars, so he asked me to tune my guitar, and I did that in 30 seconds. And he said, "You can play in the band."
That's the best audition ever.
Yeah, no, it's good. So. His stuff is just, layers and layers of guitar, and we played in different tunings and different time signatures, and, really guitar orchestras with scores went out, and I was like the soprano guitar, and then there are people that are playing like the lower guitars, and, yeah, I mean, it's really great, really, really loud, and I didn't protect my hearing as well as I should have. It's just unfortunate, because now I have ringing in this ear, but that's my fault.
Now, all right, so since you experience it and you're a doctor, what is the correct pronunciation? Is it tinnitus or is it tinnitus? I've heard it both ways.
It's tinnitus.
Oh, man.
I always say tinnitus, but it is tinnitus.
Wow. I've heard 40 years I've been saying it wrong.
Well, me too. It seems to be tinnitus, but it's tinnitus. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll have to make a concerted effort to change.
Well, we can change the pronunciation for everyone.
Yeah.
One of those Google things where you put up the pronunciation and you click on it and it tells you how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it gets it right. Sometimes it sounds completely ridiculous.
Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right.
So how many recordings are you on for Rhys? You're on. I'm
on Drastic Classicism and Dernigator, so I think at least 2. Yeah.
How did that turn into playing with Band of Susans?
Well, I met the Susans. I mean, Rhys had large groups, so he had Robert Foss and Susan Stenger also playing in some of his ensembles, and that's how I met them was through Rhys, and they had the Band of Susans. But yeah, they had the Band of Susans, and at that time there were 3 Susans, which is hence the name.
Right.
And, I think there were going to be. I replaced one of the Susans who was, I don't remember which Susan Tallman or Susan Lyle, who was going to be doing other things with their career. And so I took their place, and then I think around the same time one of the other Susans left, so that Susan Stenger was the one that was left, the bass player. And so I think the first person to replace the other Susan was Paige Hamilton. And Mark after that.
Okay, right, yeah, and so you played at the same time in that band with Paige.
Yeah.
Oh, right, and he's gone to form Helmet and do some amazing stuff.
He's really doing a lot of stuff. I hadn't talked to him in about 20 years, and we ran into each other. And actually, he was in town, and a friend of a friend called and said, "Paige is here." It's like, okay, I'll come down and say.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, now, you're on the Love Agenda album.
Yep.
And are you also on the BBC album?
Which one?
The BBC recordings.
I think I'm just on Love Agenda.
Okay.
Years ago in medical school, knocked a lot of my brain cells out.
That doesn't sound good.
In a room, I had to make room for some other knowledge. So. Like, Robert will know. Robert, next week Robert will know.
So, all right, well, I'll double check with him. But I was reading some of the reviews for Love Agenda, and they're amazing. Spin Magazine said that that album has put more electric guitar on one record than any they've ever heard. Melody Maker said it's a soundtrack for an epileptic fit, a lapse that feels like being seized by divine powers, even amid all the nuance of live performance. It's blindingly good. And Sounds called the record Susan's masterpiece. It's a massive album.
Yeah, it was great. I'm really happy that I'm on that record. It's a great record.
It is a thick record. How difficult was it to play? Because if it's layers upon layers of guitar and bass.
Yeah, well, you got to hand it to Robert and Susan on that. I mean, that's really their vision on it, and it really, I think it really comes out. I mean, I love the songs on that record. I love the whole vibe of that record.
Gosh.
The only reason I was not in the Band of Susans is because I decided I was going to go back to medical. I was going to go back to school and try and be a doctor, and that's everything go aside.
Well, that worked out for you well, and I definitely want
it worked out okay.
Yeah. But since we're kind of on that album, did you play live a lot before recording? And how was the live shows compared to the sound of the album? Was it hard to make the live shows sound the same as the album?
I don't think so. I've heard clips of like us at CBGBs and stuff, and to me, it's pretty true to what the record sounds like. I mean, with the layering of guitars, with 3 guitars on stage plus the bass and drums, you can really get some depth in there. So I think the live sound is pretty true to what we did on the records.
Were you a gear hound? Did you like to buy pedals and guitars and amps to keep your sound?
I'm not much of a pedal person. I'm a flanger, and I'm not even sure I use it. I was mainly a straight to the Marshall kind of a guitar player, and pretty much am now. I mean, I work with a few pedals, but that is definitely Robert's forte. I mean, he can layer sounds and work with pedals like nobody's business.
So what kind of guitars and amp were you using back then? You said Marshall.
A Marshall amp, and I had a little kind of homemade K kind of guitar that I used to work at a music store back in Minneapolis, and I kind of rebuilt this thing more or less from scratch and played that. But then I played a G&L Telly.
Ooh.
Well, and I think I played that was it. G&L Telly or my little homemade pink guitar. I had Les Paul, but I don't think I played it much for the Susan.
And you decided at what point that you wanted to go into medical school? Because that's quite a change, going from professional musician to medical school.
Well, I mean, I was doing a lot of restaurant work. I was running a restaurant and cooking brunch on weekends, which is great fun and I love it. But kind of was thinking that it wasn't a career that I had really chosen, and thought maybe I should go back and do college. And then it was during college that I realized that medicine was kind of a calling. I mean, just in terms of the variety of it and the depth of it. It seemed like it was going to be a good fit to go into some kind of medical career. At first I was thinking I'd do physical therapy or, something like that. And I thought, well, I think I'd like to, take care of people more in a different way than a physical therapist does. So all the pre-med stuff, and, then I got in.
And your specialty is oncology and hematology?
Yes, blood and cancer diseases, yeah.
How did, I'm going to say this probably the wrong way, but how did that choose you? Because you're saying it was a calling.
Well, because, actually it was the first year when I was doing my internship. So, you do your 4 years of medical school, and then you apply to all these different programs, and then there's a match where the program picks you and you pick them, and if you both kind of land in the right order, that's where you go. So I ended up getting matched to University of Florida in Gainesville. Oh. And my second rotation there was on the hematology and oncology service, and that was when I decided that's what I wanted to do, because I really felt drawn to taking care of that patient population, and the diseases are incredibly fascinating, and it's very consuming but rewarding at the same time. So it just fit my personality, right? I mean, it's like there are different personalities that go into different specialties, I think. So that one fit me pretty well.
And was the trip back to New York planned, or was that just a happy coincidence?
No, I wanted to come back to New York. I mean, it was kind of an experiment to go out of New York for a few years. I thought, well, let me see if I want to still be in New York. And I loved being in Gainesville, and it was a great program, and I met great people, but I really missed New York. So I got a fellowship, which is further training in hematology and oncology at NYU Hospital, and did another 3 years there. So we're talking 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency, and 3 years of fellowship. So it's a long haul. Wow. And then I've stayed on, affiliated with NYU since that time.
Okay. Have you been playing music the entire time?
No, I hadn't at all.
No. Okay, so you took a complete break.
Oh no, I played for an avant-garde ballet, a friend of mine, John King, in like 1998, and that was about the last time I picked up a guitar for about 10 years.
Wow.
It was just kind of like I just kind of put it aside. I don't even think I brought a guitar to Gainesville. It's kind of like I have to put this aside now, which is. It seems odd to me now when I think about it. I'm not sure why that happened, but that's how it was. It's kind of like I had to focus on this other thing, or I felt like I did anyway.
And then in 2014, you put out an album.
Yeah.
So how did you go from dropping the guitar completely to picking it up and releasing your first solo album?
Well, I mean, obviously it was a little bit of a process. I mean, I think, a few years into being an oncologist is kind of like, I need some other aspect of my life. This is, very rewarding, but it's also can be very draining, and you need some way to kind of, revitalize. And so I started riding horses again and going out west to do that, out at New Branches, and ride out in the range and in the mountains and stuff. And at these ranches they'll have cowboy singers. Somebody who can just strum a guitar and play any number of songs. And I thought, well, that looks like it's kind of fun to do. That might be something I should do. I'll just strum the guitar and learn a few songs. And so I started working on it, and then I don't know if you saw the movie It Might Get Loud.
Oh yeah.
So that came out, and that was like, oh my God, I play the guitar. Why aren't I playing the guitar? So that was when it was really like, I feel like I have something to say on this after all this time.
That movie was amazing to me. It was just something else to see Jimmy Page, The Edge, and Jack White.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah. Just playing each other's songs. I never ever thought I would hear Jimmy Page playing Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I love the way they kind of weaved in everybody's childhood, and they got all this old photos and footage, and I mean, it just is like such a it just stays with me. I watch that movie fairly regularly still.
It's a fantastic movie, and I definitely recommend anybody who's interested in guitar or those three guys to definitely watch it, because even if you just take out the background information, just to watch those three guys play together and teach each other their own songs.
Yeah, In My Time of Dying. Yeah, I love that one.
Oh yeah, and watching them teach each other the songs is fantastic.
At the end when they that came out, and I think in August of 2009 or late, it was definitely the summer. I went and saw it at the local theater, Sunshine Cinema, down here in the East Village, and that was it. It was kind of like, oh my God, I play the guitar. So why don't I play the guitar? So then I thought I'd just pull the guitars out, and I thought, well, I probably won't going to play in a band again, so maybe I'd try and do some finger picking because it's an open D, because it's very kind of full sounding by yourself. And I started working on these progressions, and then I had an idea that, well, maybe I'll just put out a little EP, or maybe put some songs up on YouTube or something. That I had no idea how you go about doing that in kind of a modern era.
Right.
Compared to my last experiences, my recording experiences were with the Band of Susans, which was like in the early 90s or 1990, something like that. And so, a lot of things changed. They stopped making, Tower Records closed.
Oh, God.
Stopped selling 45s,
I know.
Kind of like time passed.
It's just, and it's changing faster and faster every year. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is.
Oh.
And so, I had no idea, how you do these things these days. But Steve Almas, who I was in the Crackers with back in Minneapolis, and we moved to New York, we'd always kind of been in contact through the years, and I just kind of emailed him and said, hey, I got a project I might want us to do, and he was interested, so I played him some of my stuff that I was working on. The first thing I was working on was something that ended up being called Lincoln Letters. I had no words for it, but he's like, well, I can come up with some words for this. And so that was the one that he did the lyrics on, and I did the music. And then from there, I just started being able to put them together myself. And I guess Western Holiday, which was the first record that came out in 2014, probably took a couple years to really put together and get everything together. It was certainly a steep learning curve for me, for sure.
Well, the sound is a lot different from Band of Susans. Is that?
Yeah, but it pulls from that. I think what I do now pulls from working with Band of Susans and working with Rhys, and that I really like jangly, kind of drony overtones and a little bit of clashing rhythms and things like that. And I don't know, I guess what I play now is kind of definitely, it's not really in that realm, but in my mind, it definitely pulls from there.
I can definitely hear more of it on the second album, A Perseverance and Grace.
Yeah.
And I can hear more. There's some awesome feedback, and I'm. That's one of the things that drew me into Band of Susans was the noise. And there's not as much in your solo stuff, but I can definitely hear some, there's a couple songs on that end. They've got a couple good squalls of feedback and instantly right back to Band of Susans.
Yeah, where I have one of these records right here. Let's look at it. Here's Perseverance and Grace. Let's see. So yeah, Tornado's got some good kind of slide solos and some feedback, and then Sunday Walk has got a good feedback ending. Hairbite has definitely got a feedback.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. And then on the first one, my 24-hour prayer starts out as like an acoustic one, and then it ends up with a kind of a wacky wah-wah feedback solo. So, yeah. I mean, there's definitely aspects there, all kind of mixed in with the cowboy songs and the riding horses songs and the other stuff that I like to think about.
Do you see yourself making anything closer to Band of Susans, where it's a more of a wall of sound, or working with Rhys again, or anything like that?
I played a couple of things with Rhys. I mean, he's been in town a few times in the past few years, and he's asked me to play on a couple of his performances when they did Guitar Trio, now known as G3. I mean, if Rhys is around, I'll play, and I think, I don't really kind of pick and choose. I just kind of write the songs, and they seem to kind of go in whatever direction that they're going to go in. So,
okay.
I definitely think there will be some more kind of, wall of sound type things, as well as some more delicate things as well. I mean, just whatever I feel like doing.
Yeah, why not at this point?
Yeah, why not? Exactly, why not?
So, have you ever had a patient recognize you from Band of Susans or any of your solo work?
Definitely from the solo work, because, and actually a couple of, we were in the Band of Susans, and there were people in medical school that were very impressed by it, that I was in the Band of Susans, and somebody said, now I got into medical school and I got to compete with a classmate that was in the Band of Susans, so there was definitely a rep going around. Nowadays, they'll go, I gotta go see Dr. Haglof, let me Google her name so I can find the address again, and then all this stuff comes up about, these records, and it'll come in and say something like, I was trying to find you on the internet, and do you play guitar? So that happens fairly regularly.
Okay, that's gotta be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've had people come to my shows. I mean, some patients come to my shows, which is, I'm very flattered that they are interested and would like to do that.
Has your medical history influenced your music now in any way? I know it's kind of a weird question.
It does. I mean, I'm certainly not going to write about, something very specific, but I mean, just kind of dealing with the emotions and dealing with the, hematology and oncology can be pretty intense. I mean, because you're dealing with life and death diagnoses, and you have to impart that a lot, and you have to, help people make decisions regarding how their lives are going to be for whatever time they have, and that's a lot to do. And so, I mean, I don't know if you've heard the new EP, but like Slow Stampede off of that one, which is. That's definitely, it's partially about a horse. I mean, this is 4 songs about horses, so it's definitely about a horse, a Bucky, that I used to ride, who colicked and died suddenly. But it also brings up all these, other emotions about people and life and lack of control and loss, and just kind of continuing on, no matter the fact that you really don't have much control over what we do, whether we think we do or not.
Right. So there won't be any ballads to blastomas or anything.
No, I'm probably not going to do that. Although, let's see, in Tornado, the song off Perseverance and Grace, one of my favorite lines is "evolutionary niche in a cytokine storm." Definitely pulls all from my medical terminology background.
You have just released a new EP, a 4-song EP, and you just said that all the songs are about horses. Can you explain Ode to Bon Jovi and how that's about a horse?
Well, okay, it's about a horse named Bon Jovi.
Okay.
Who keeps throwing me off. This is a real horse that I really like to ride in Arizona that has thrown me off on a couple of occasions for, I mean, one time it was, it's never the horse's fault, I think. I mean, it's just, I didn't keep my seat around a kind of a quick curve and down into some sand, and off I went, and it was hurt. And the second time, we were almost to the barn. I mean, really, the barn was within walking distance, and suddenly a bird, he startled, and I was dozing in the saddle, and off I went again. So yeah, this horse, Bon Jovi, the story is from the ranch where I ride him, that he used to actually belong to John Elway. And it was John Elway's daughter's horse, but she didn't ride him that much, and so he sold him this outfit, and then I get to ride Bon Jovi. And I don't know if Bon Jovi's name was Bon Jovi back then, but it is Bon Jovi now, ranch. And so, I got to write a song about Bon Jovi and also mention John Elway and the Broncos. So that, I think, is a pretty good songwriting feat.
It is. I loved it. I don't know any other song that combines those three elements.
And, we've got Mitch Easter playing the Moog, so that's pretty great, too.
Oh.
I mean, that's me on bass and Mitch playing the Moog, all those nice, lyrical, nice lines. And I just think I'm happy about it. I wrote it. I'm happy about it.
Well, that's good. Now, since you've got 4 songs all about horses, is that a precursor to another full length that might be coming out pretty soon?
I mean, I wasn't just doing these songs in isolation. I mean, the way I am able to work, just with work constraints and everything, is I'll, kind of demo a couple of songs, work a couple of songs up to a level where I, bring in Steve, who's still producing for me, and then we make some decisions on it if there's anything that he thinks should be different or we're happy about the way it is, and then go into Cowboy Technical Services out in Greenpoint and do the drum tracks and then kind of finish the song over a period of time. And so there's quite a backlog of songs now, and we pulled these 4 because they're all about horses, and I've always wanted to make an EP. I mean, that was the first thing I wanted to do, was make an EP. Like, no, we got to do full length. So now I've got an EP.
All right.
And now I've got this other material which is not about horses, and so I'm planning to put that out, fairly soon, just because I don't see any reason not to.
Right? Yeah. Again, why not?
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of playing out for your music?
I not as much as I'd like to, but that's starting to change. It sounds like we've got here in New York, there's a club, Bowery Electric. I'm going to have a show there probably in the next month or so. So I'm looking forward to that. And I did a little solo thing at the 2A Treehouse, another local bar here, and played some other places just around. So yeah, that's kind of the next on the agenda, is to try and get out there and play live some more.
Did you tour?
I'd love to play with Robert. I hope Robert Poss, if we can do like a combination, Robert Poss, Karen Haglof, and we can do some old Band of Susan songs and pull it together. That'd be pretty fun. We could definitely do some songs. Yeah.
Well, all right. So speaking of Band of Susan, since we're back there, did they do a lot of touring when you were with them?
We toured a bit. Yeah, we toured in Europe and the UK and out to the West Coast here, and through Minneapolis. I mean, we definitely played quite a bit. We got to play with some great people. We opened for Wire. That was really great.
Oh wow!
Tour with them and Throwing Muses back in those days, and Steve Albini's band, Rape Man, and so we did a lot of different, very interesting and great tours. Peel Session, I mean, that was great.
Yeah. So how does that work? Do you get a lot of time to prepare for that, or?
Yeah, I mean, to my recollection, we pretty much did it live in the studio with overdubbed vocals, and Robert can correct me next week if I'm wrong, but that's how I remember it, because we did Because of You, which is my favorite Band of Susan song. And I I do the background vocals on the version of it that's on Love Agenda, and so I remember we played the guitar parts, and then I'm pretty sure we overdubbed vocals, but it was pretty much live in the studio there at BBC One and BBC Studios.
Right. Yeah, I'd heard that you don't get a whole lot of time to do the songs, and that you get like one overdub maybe.
You're just you gotta get them down, nail them,
bang that out.
Yep.
So you mentioned that you think you sang background vocals. Did you sing on all your new stuff? Is that something that you've always wanted to do, even with Band of Susans, or is that just something you did just because, well, I'll give it a shot? Why not?
Something I just did because they're my songs, basically. I mean, I originally thought, I'll be Jimmy Page. I'll just play the guitar, and we'll get somebody to be Robert Plant, and that'll be good. But it seemed like, well, they're my songs. I should interpret them, and so I do the best I can. I certainly wish I had a more stellar voice, but we work with what we have, right?
Exactly. Well, I think you do a great job. And then one of my favorite is Perseverance and Grace. I love the vocals on that.
Oh, thank you.
In all your touring history with Band of Susans and the little bit you've done on your own, has there anything weird happened? And you always hear about strange stuff happening on tour. Anything weird happen while you've been touring with Band of Susans or recording? You often hear about producers making people run laps around the studio to get them out of breath to get the right vocal sound, or record in a hallway or a subway to get the drum sounds just right. Anything weird like that happen?
No.
I know I'm just throwing this stuff at you, so.
No, I mean, I could remember one goofy thing that I did that I should probably, I would have been thinking I probably could have, things would have turned out differently. But when we were starting the tour with Wire, and suddenly somehow it came around to that. Oh, let's do this card trick to decide who's going to do the tour support money. And so Graham, the bass player from Wire, had this card trick that he wanted me to pick a card, but I knew the trick, so I knew how he was going to do it. So instead of playing along and figuring it out how I could win, and then they'd have to do the support money, I said, no, I know that game. So it's like everybody's like, oh, Karen, why didn't you? It's like I should have thought further about it and said, how can I turn this around that I can, turn the kind of tables on him, and then we'd get the support money.
Yeah.
But instead, I was like, no, I know that trick.
Well, you know what? In the end, you ended up going to medical school anyway, so I think maybe that would worked out for the best.
Yeah, maybe.
So I was trying to do as much research on you as I can, and I found some really cool reviews, but they're not of your albums. They're from some of your patients.
Oh. So
I would like to read you some of these reviews because I think they're fantastic.
I don't read them at all because I'm afraid if they're bad, I'll be mortified, and if they're good, I'll get a big head. So if they're not too bad, I can probably stand it.
I haven't found a bad one. I'm gonna spoiler right there.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Okay, so the first one, and I'm not gonna say any names, so I'm just
good. Yeah, don't.
I don't want to run into any HIPAA issues.
Don't do that. No.
So I will just say the review. Dr. Haglof has been absolutely wonderful in her care and treatment of me. Her bedside manner could not be better. She's a compassionate, supportive, and intelligent doctor who goes the extra step. I would highly recommend her. And the lady who wrote this did it in all caps, so she's excited.
She was shouting.
She's extolling your virtues from the mountaintops.
Right, she's shouting them out. Wow, well that's great. That's very nice.
So the next one says, I have been with Dr. Haglof for a bit over a year. She's an excellent doctor and just a very nice person to be around in general.
Huh.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
I have been to several hematologists over the years concerning my P. vera.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, P. vera. Polycythemia vera, which is why we just say P. vera.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with too.
Yeah.
Dr. Haglof was the only doctor to truly listen to what I was telling her and not just go by the book or prescribed treatments. She's open-minded, very attentive, and an overall very pleasant person.
Oh.
And the last one that I've got, efficient and professional staff, thorough exam and responsive follow-up. She actually calls back and is so very helpful, kind, and empathetic. accurate and immediate diagnosis, and thoughtful treatment plan. She's an old-fashioned kind of doctor who is clearly in this profession to help patients. She's attentive and so very understanding and knowledgeable of complex medical problems. Goes out of her way to liaise with other providers to coordinate care and improve health problems. Wish all my doctors were like Dr. Haglof. She raises the bar for the entire medical profession. Only wish I had found her sooner.
Oh my God, I wonder who wrote that. That's awesome. Wow.
That was an entire paragraph right there.
Yeah, wow. I should put that somewhere.
I can email it to you, no problem.
Wow. Well.
So if anybody listening wants to hear some great bluesy Western music, definitely pick up Karen Haglof's new album. Pick up Band of Susans if you want to hear some amazing, noisy, artsy, avant-garde.
Yes, definitely.
Rock.
Yeah,
and
some of the greatest. I'm very proud that I was part of that band.
And if you're in New York City and want a consult, look her up.
Oh, geez, yeah. Hopefully you don't need me. Yeah.
Hopefully not. But that's enough. That's a whole other end of your career. We definitely need to promote too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still going. So yeah.
So it is the end result to eventually move out west because everything.
I love it out west, but I love New York City. If you take Manhattan and then you had the sage of Wyoming on one side of the river, and on the other one would be like the desert from Arizona. You could just cross there and then go ride and then come back to Manhattan. That would be ideal. But then everybody would do that, and it would not be like Wyoming or Arizona anymore. So.
Well, that's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love to go out west, but I mean, I love the city. The first time we ever came here back in 1979, it's like, yeah, this is where I want to live. It hasn't really changed. So
you've played some really interesting locations. CBGB's for one.
Yeah.
Where
I've been there with Rhys and with Band of Susans and with the Crackers and with a couple other bands. So I've definitely been on that stage. Was there any place that kind of you were on stage and you just kind of realized, wow, I'm at CBGB's or I'm at this location? Was there one that you just kind of realized where you were and how historical the location it would be? Well, CB's is definitely one of those places.
Yeah. How can people reach out to you, or how can they find your music, follow you on any social media? What's the best way for people to get your stuff?
Well, I mean, I have a website, Karen Haglof, KarenHaglof.com. So that has news and links to different articles and links to the songs, and I have some artwork up on that thing. So there's a lot of different aspects. And then I'm on Facebook like everybody else in the world. Karen Haglof Music, and then I'm on Instagram, at Karen Haglof. So I'm probably the most active on Instagram because I like visuals and it's the most fun. And then the music is available for download on iTunes, and it's available at Amazon. And, you can hear stuff on SoundCloud. So basically, a lot of the platforms. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me and talking about Band of Susans and your solo work. And
no, anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Your story is so unique. I just definitely had to talk to you.
Yeah, how did you decide you wanted to do podcasts? How did that come about?
Oh gosh, it's I almost didn't really decide it. What happened was a friend of mine. He's a huge Washington Redskins fan. He's been in the area his whole life, and he entered this contest for this blog. They said, write us something short about the Redskins, and if we like it, you can write for us. So he did it, and they said, yeah, we like your writing. Write for us. So he started writing for them. They don't really pay anything, but the draft season started to come by for the NFL, and I'm a big college football fan. So he said, hey,
go Gators.
I'm a Alabama fan. My brother graduated.
Yeah, sorry.
So he said, you know more about college football than I do. Help me with some draft profiles. Okay, no problem. Started writing those, and I started making them funny. I guess I'm a little bit of a natural comedian. I try to inject humor into everything. And so the managing editor was like, these are good.
came up with Mike and said, hey, I want you to do a podcast. Why don't you get Mark involved and just make it DC Sports? So we did that. It came out, well, we actually had a former Redskin join us, and he kind of became part of the cast. And we ended up getting picked up by the local ESPN affiliate.
Oh, so, great.
Yeah. And then they sold it, and they dropped everybody. So
we love your format. You're fired.
Yeah, pretty much. So then I told my buddy, I had friends out in L.A. that I was writing scripts for. And he said, I mentioned, he knew about the podcast. I said, hey, yeah, we just ended. He's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, why is it awesome? He said, because I want to do a show with you guys. Okay, great. So we talked about it, and he said, I want to get my buddy involved. His name's Tommy. Okay, no problem. We'll do 2 guys in L.A., 2 single guys in L.A., and 2 married guys in Virginia, and we'll talk sports. And then Mike's job kind of took him away from it, and it just now it's just kind of the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. And we get Jim Jeffries to come on. We get some other actors. Eric's brother is an actor.
I love Jim Jeffries. He's great.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious. So he's going. If you ever, all right, it's 8 Ball Sports. Yeah, we're on iTunes, Stitcher. There's the shows that he's on. He's definitely in the titles. It'll say Jim Jeffries. So he comes on and he talks about all kinds of insanity. But Eric's brother is an actor, and if you ever watched Smallville, I don't know if you remember that show. It's about Superman.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't watched much, but
yeah. Well, my friend Eric's brother played Lex Luthor.
Ah.
So he's coming on. We're going to we talk hockey and on, and so between the 2 of them, they've got a lot of connections. And we try to get some actors and comedians to come on. So it's more of a comedic look at sports. It's definitely rated R for language. You know, I mean, Jim comes on. It gets crazy.
Well, yeah.
but it's definitely it's like 75% comedy, 25% sports. So it's a blessing. And then.
That seems like a good mix.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing you need. You know, there's so much heaviness out there right now with all the everything.
Yeah.
That
sure
it's a lot of fun to do. And then this one, we took a little break, and I thought, well, I would like to do something similar, but with musicians and artists and people, stuff that, the other guys wouldn't be interested in. And so I started reaching out to some musicians that I knew through social media, and they agreed to come on. I mean, you've seen who I've had on there already, like Trey Gunn from King Crimson. I've had Bob Rock. Yeah, I've had producer Bob Rock has come on. Sylvia Massey's will be coming on in November. I just had a lot of fun reaching out to these people, and I think my favorite shows are the artists that people aren't so familiar with. Like Mark Dancy. If you get a minute or an hour,
and he's the one I was scrolling through your podcast that you have up. He's he's a designer. I mean, more than that.
Oh yeah, he's a graphic artist. Yeah. Yeah. He did the cover for Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger album, but he was in a band called Big Chief back in the '90s, and they were awesome. And they put out one of my favorite albums of all time called Mac Avenue Skull Game. And he goes, Mac Avenue Skull Game, it's like I don't want to say rock opera, but it's definitely a themed album, and it is hilarious. And he tells how they came up with the theme. It's all based on a book that they borrowed while they were touring Europe, and they were so bored on the road that everybody read the book. Everybody loved it.
That's about right.
And they decided to write the soundtrack to a movie that never got made about this book. And it's awesome. So I would definitely listen to that podcast and then check out that band. They're hilarious. Definitely a lot of punk and funk in the music.
That's one of my favorite combinations. I mean, I really like funk.
Oh yeah. Well, you'll love Big Chief.
Funk noise kind of thing going on at some point.
Oh yeah, big Mac Avenue Skull Game is it's their 3rd full length, and they've got horn sections going on. They've got all kinds of. They got some really funky bass. It's one of my favorite albums. Like I mentioned to you before, I had Steven Serio on. He's done work with the Residents. His work with the Residents is in the Museum of Modern Art's permanent collection. So it's the people I'm meeting are just so awesome.
Well,
So-
yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great thing.
It is.
Obviously, we're having a great fun doing this too.
Oh yeah, it's a blast, and now you're one of them, so you're included in all these. So
Okay, this has been really fun.
thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast speaking with you.
For having me. And
Cowhand Jack, young and brash, thought he knew it all. He won snake bite one stormy night on a lucky draw. Well, Jack bragged up his riding skills and womanizing too. Lindsay Lou, the rancher's daughter, did not approve. Had in mind to teach a lesson, came up with a dare. Challenged Jack on snake bite against her and her brown mare. Oh, the devil's claw.